Hello, my name is Ihsaan1c. Okay. Hello, people. This is Ihsaan1c. Ihsaan1c, an atheist friend of mine, made an appearance in Hamza's Den show. And he sent me a message. Ihsaan1c, check out the 5-hour stream yesterday from Hamza Den. I speak from 3 hours 45. Will be interested in your views and maybe even a follow-up video. Okay, great. Let's go.
That was sweet. Assalamu alaikum, Ihsaan.
Hi, hello. Thanks for having me on. I'm just saying I'm actually an atheist. I've joined on the chat for a bit, and I've listened to your arguments, and surprisingly enough, I actually agree with a lot of them. But my issue is, with a lot of your arguments, you can say that there's a cause, that you can go back to a first cause, but you don't actually say anything about that cause. That cause could be anything. As you can say, like, what was the first cause? What's supposed to be your first cause of the universe? And as Matt Dillahunty would say, well, how did you rule out universe creating pixies?
Okay, so you believe in a first cause?
Well, I don't actually, but what I'm saying is, I've heard your arguments about infinite regress and the contingency, and it's possible that the universe in some form could have existed forever. It's possible we've not shown energy to be created or destroyed in any way. So it's quite possible that energy could have existed, forever. I mean, clearly you guys don't have a problem with a God existing forever. So why not something like energy existing forever?
Ihsaan makes a very good point here, but I will go even a step further. What we definitely know is that the philosophical nothing never existed. Why is that? Because philosophers define that nothing in that way. Philosophers say, from nothing, nothing comes, or nothing is what stones dream of. Therefore, that nothing obviously never existed. In that sense, atheists and theists agree that there was always something in the philosophical sense. In the ontological sense, there was always something. Things like the Lorentz-Krauss nothing, which is some form of quantum environment, is the nothing in the cosmological sense, the nothing we actually see in the universe.
Not because it's that hard to put this term over there, most of us could do that, but because it now represents something very different when it's on this side of the equations. Here it was somehow a geometric quantity. When it's here, it looks like a new contribution of the energy and momentum of the universe. What could contribute a term like this? And we know the answer. Nothing. By nothing, I don't mean nothing, I mean nothing. If you take empty space, and that means get rid of all the particles, all the radiation, absolutely everything, so there's nothing there. If that nothing weighs something, then it contributes a term like this. Now, that sounds ridiculous. Why should nothing weigh something? Nothing is nothing. And the answer is nothing isn't nothing anymore in physics. Because of the laws of quantum mechanics and special relativity, on extremely small scales, nothing is really a boiling, bubbling brew of virtual particles that are popping in and out of existence in a time scale so short you can't see them.
But for the purpose of this conversation, because the nothing Hamza and Hijab and Imran has in mind is the ontological nothing, we can definitely say that something always existed. That's a definite statement. So, forget everything I said so far. We are certain, with 100% certainty, something always existed. Both atheists and theists agree to that certain fact, that something always existed. But you might say, isn't that going against the Big Bang theory? No, it's not. The Big Bang proved that our universe began. It doesn't say anything about what happened before. We don't know what happens before the singularity. In fact, some theories related to the Big Bang, like the inflation theory of the Big Bang, predicts a multiverse. So the Big Bang doesn't say the universe came from nothing. The Big Bang just says that our universe began to exist. The cosmos might very well be eternal, and it is eternal, in the ontological sense. Oops, what I just did, I just refuted half of the cosmological arguments. In fact, I refuted all the cosmological arguments. The only thing I haven't already disproven with this statement I just made is the contingency argument. That we disprove in another way. But how we just disproven the cosmological arguments? Because the cosmological arguments start with a definite statement: the universe began to exist. That's not definite, therefore the deductive argument breaks down.
Can energy be created or destroyed outside of a closed system?
It's not been shown to be created or destroyed according to the, say, second law of thermodynamics.
Isn't that within a closed system?
I mean, no, because even within a closed system or any system, it's not been shown to be created or destroyed. We just don't have any examples of
thermodynamics was that energy can't be created or destroyed within a closed system.
New observations in science suggest that the total energy of our universe is zero. That means that it's an open type of universe. Okay, that is everything that can be said about energy. Thermodynamics only says that the preservation of energy, there is a preservation of energy inside our universe. Okay, energy doesn't die, in other words, it only changes forms. That has nothing to do with outside our universe. What we know about our universe regarding to energy is that the total energy of our universe is zero. Something that favors the suggestion that our universe began from the cosmological nothing, not the ontological nothing. Okay, I hope you don't get confused with those two terms. We need to separate those two terms. That will be the last time I will talk about the cosmological nothing. Okay, but see this.
Okay, but to go back to this number here, this is a real problematic number. We now know the universe has only 1/3 the amount of matter to make it flat. The problem is that theorists like me knew the answer. The universe must be flat. Why? Well, there are two reasons. There's the one I normally say, which is it's the only mathematically beautiful universe, which is true. But there's another reason I don't usually talk about, but I'll talk about here. It turns out that in a flat universe, the total energy of the universe is precisely zero. Because gravity can have negative energy. So the negative energy of gravity balances out the positive energy of matter. What's so beautiful about a universe with total energy zero? Well, only such a universe can begin from nothing.
Lawrence Krauss here is referring to the cosmological nothing, the nothing we actually have in the universe, which is a quantum environment. But for this conversation, talking about energy and this kind of stuff doesn't help because you are not referring to the cosmological nothing. You are referring to the ontological nothing. The nothing as philosophers define it.
No, it doesn't say anything about the system. It just says energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Doesn't it?
But it has to be within a closed system because it has to be within the context of the universe, right?
Thermodynamics doesn't help this conversation at all. It's completely irrelevant. Thermodynamics is a quality inside our universe. It doesn't say anything about how our universe began. Okay, it's completely irrelevant.
Well, I mean, why not? Because I mean, all we've got is the universe, okay, and in fact, all we have is just the universe because we don't know what's outside. We at the limit of our physics, we can't test for anything outside of the universe.
Yeah, but physics
so
is
all
only
we can do is
applicable
just
to
what's
this universe.
inside the universe.
Okay, you
The
said
laws of physics are only applicable to this universe.
No, that's a wrong statement because that implies that the physical world ends with our universe. That's a wrong statement. Maybe we have a multiverse. Even if the natural laws are different in other parts of the cosmos, that doesn't mean that is not a physical environment.
okay. You said the
As
second
far
one.
as we know, because we've not able to test anything outside of the universe. Everything we say is
Yeah, that's exactly
within
the reason.
Oh,
That's the reason.
Yeah, so everything we know is inside the universe. From everything we've seen from inside the universe, energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Yeah, but if
and
you
we
think
can go
about it,
back
right?
to the Big Bang, but with the Big Bang, we don't know whether the Big Bang was the beginning of everything because it could have been something before that. Could have been cyclical. Energy could have existed for forever. It could have been multiverses, proto-universes. So you can go back.
Yeah, all right. So even with all of those interrogations, it's the same. It's the same argument, right? So if we wanted to grant you the idea that there's some energy that could not be created or destroyed, and somehow this energy is outside of the universe, okay, outside of the closed system, even if we granted all of that, the energy in question, okay, is it limited or unlimited?
What always existed, in my estimation, must have been something like a quantum environment. Not energy. Energy, in my estimation, is a result of something. Imagine gravity, okay? Gravity is an immense force. No, actually, in reality, gravity is a very small force. But it accumulates to an immense force, okay? Imagine the gravity of the sun. Imagine the gravity of a black hole. But we know that this phenomenon is just the bending of time-space. So imagine the gravity, the power of the gravity of a black hole. Okay, immense power. You say, wow, energy. Imagine what kind of energy a black hole can produce. Yet, what is a black hole? Is the bend of time-space. So it's an environment that is bending and creates this kind of energy. So, in my estimation, what always existed is some kind of environment, some counterintuitive environment that translates to energy. Energy is a quality of this environment.
Well, we don't know yet.
All right. If it's unlimited, then you're practically describing God, right?
Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. Let me describe God and how is he different with energy. Let me think. He's conscious. Is energy conscious? No, it isn't. So it's practically God. How on earth is practically God? Energy and a conscious being. Gravity is practically God. What are you talking about, my friend?
Because you're saying that you have an unlimited power, you have some kind of sovereignty, some kind of. If it's limited, then
Sovereignty. My friend, unless energy is a king in a kingdom far, far away and live happily ever after, and he saved some princess, unless energy is that, sovereignty Has nothing to do with it.
And it's contingent. Obviously, if God is not an energy. We don't say that God is an energy. But what we're saying is, if it's outside of the closed system of the universe and it has an ultimate capacity, right?
My friend, you are projecting your fairy tale, your contradictions to the universe. You are projecting. What are you talking about, my friend? Ultimate power, sovereignty. What are you talking about, my friend? Where did you see that, my friend? Sovereignty. King Richard II fought for the Middle Earth. What are you talking about, my friend? Unlimited power. Where did you see unlimited power? Where did you see that? You just name things, eh? Unlimited power. What? What? Okay, let's continue.
Then in that case, we are describing God, but we're just using different terms. You can use the term energy, you can use the word whatever you want, but what you're talking about is really an omnipotent force.
Why? Why omnipotent? Why? Where did you get that? Please tell us. The total energy, which is a limited energy of our universe, is zero. In fact, you don't even need energy. Zero energy you need. Our universe has zero energy. Yet you say, we need omnipotence. Why? Why you need that? What are you talking about, my friend? You know what's the difference of scientists with you, Mohammed Hijab? Scientists don't just think with their heads down and see the ceiling and start saying things out of their imagination. I can also do that. Look, I can see the ceiling right now. Oh, there's a spider. In reality, I just saw that. I see the ceiling. Omnipotent, omniscient, energy. He needs to be, what was the other word? Sovereignty. Sovereignty. How you know all that, Mohammed? I just see the ceiling. and imagine a story. Okay, let's go forward.
I mean, it would seem to be the case.
No.
But so if it's unlimited, if it's limited, then the same questions would apply. So what is it dependent on? In order to be, what is it dependent on? Is it dependent on something which is dependent, or is it dependent upon something which is independent?
Now Mohammed Hijab is confusing everybody because he's referring to the terms inside the contingency argument. So he doesn't really mean dependent, independent. He's referring to specific terms inside the contingency argument. So everybody now will be confused. Look, I haven't seen the video. Look, that everybody will be confused now.
And then if it's dependent upon something which is dependent, then you have an infinite regress of dependent things. And if you have an infinite regress of dependent things, for reasons mentioned before, you'd have an impossibility unless you can, because of we said, if something which is dependent, it relies upon something else to exist. So if you can't have an infinite number of those things, you can't have an infinite number of things which depend upon or rely upon other things to exist.
You're just going back to the contingency argument. So basically, the whole thing is what you're trying to say is you're trying to create an infinite regress and then say, well, something has to terminate the infinite regress, therefore my God. Whereas what I'm saying is,
I haven't said my God. No,
listen, Ihsaan, don't be disrespectful, mate.
Hamza, you better, Hamza, you better not insult my friend. My friend, I'm taking easy with you, okay? If you insult my friend, I will destroy you. Okay, my friend? So, you take it easy, Hamza. Okay? You see a gentleman, a totally gentleman, and you say don't be disrespectful. Let's go on.
Don't misrepresent our position. That's not what we're saying.
Okay, but
have you heard us say "my God"? Have you heard us say these words? God.
No. Well, okay. Well,
I think when you opened up the discussion,
I've heard the argument lots of times, mainly from.
All right, this is the problem you see. Ihsaan, I'd appreciate it if you don't bring other conversations you've had to this table.
Why on earth are you being rude to a perfectly... What's wrong with you, my friend? What's wrong with you? Why are you being rude to a perfectly good gentleman? What did he say? What did he say that offended you? What's wrong with you? Who you expect speaking to? Gandhi? This guy is Gandhi, my friend. You don't like Gandhi, you want Mother Teresa? Come on, please, be serious.
And show us what you've been eating. We're not care. We eat what's at our table, yeah? So, if respond to what we're saying. Yeah, don't infer things that we've not said and then argue against them, because obviously you know that's a straw man, isn't it? Anyway, go on. What are you saying, Imran? Sorry, just 1 second.
I was just saying, when you opened up the discussion, Ihsaan, one of the things you said was that we haven't done the conceptual analysis of what this initial thing is, which is right. So to posit that then in this question isn't so unreasonable because we haven't done that analysis. But the fundamental principle we're trying to establish is that there has to be something. You can even use the word foundational, or we use the word contingent, uncaused, because whichever analysis you provide or whichever route you want to go down, you do end up with this infinite series of either causes or contingencies or whatever that might be.
Okay, let me explain how that works. We have a tool to understand this world. This tool is called our brain. Our brain is a biological tool evolved inside a certain environment. This tool is fixed by evolution for survival. Initially. Not initially, still, but now we have other kinds of evolution. But what I'm trying to say is, imagine taking a ruler and trying to count time with a ruler. What's wrong with that? There is the wrong instrument for the wrong application. Our brain is not evolved to grasp these deep questions, which is outside of our universe. So we had to constantly tune our perceptions to the scientific method. What originated our universe is counterintuitive. But how do I know these things? Am I like Mohammed Hijab? I just see the ceiling and say things? No, there is science, like the science of evolution, that predicts logic will be limited. And also there is quantum mechanics that demonstrated the counterintuitive quantum qualities. There is also Einstein with his relativity theory. Einstein proved that time is relative. It's totally counterintuitive that time is relative. So the limitations in your logic are not the limitations of the universe. Now let's go to infinite regress. In a quantum environment, time is completely crazy. Crazy. It's past, future coexist, again past, present, future coexist, back, forth, one electron in one universe, the other in another dimension, past, present, future, enter eternal possibilities. An electron can be in eternal places, the same time, parallel universes, dimensions, 12 dimensions, 11. What are you talking about, causality? What causality? In a quantum environment, causality is not the classical sense of causality and infinite regress. Okay. Future and present and past coexist in a quantum environment. So, what is your problem with your logic? Is that you confuse quantities being qualities. Can you understand what I'm saying now? Time, you confuse time as a quality, unbreakable quality, when in fact it's just another quantity. Okay, you confuse infinite regress like an unbreakable quality because you live in this universe, but in fact it's just another quantity. Your brain cannot detect these things because your brain is evolved in a time linear universe. So, we got over infinite regress and causality. Let's see if your God comes over infinite regress and causality. Is your God conscious? Yes, he is. Consciousness is a linear process. Okay, if you make consciousness like a quantum environment, you are insane. That's not consciousness. Consciousness necessarily requires a linear time process. It's fixed for the environment, my friend. Consciousness is just a tool for this universe. Okay, you cannot have a radical consciousness because then you are insane. So, atheism, no problem whatsoever with causality and infinite regress. Your God, disproven. Anything else? Okay. Moreover, there is also a moreover why you are making the special pleading logical fallacy. Why you exclude your God from the same argument? You say nothing can be eternal. Isn't your God eternal? So how can nothing can be eternal? Except my God. Why you are making the special pleading logical fallacy?
So at some stage, because it's impossible to cross an infinity in any conceptual way you'd like to cross it, there has to be a start point. And that's all really what was trying to be established. Now, you can analyze what this start point might be, and you're absolutely right. We haven't got to that stage in our discussion. But do you agree with that principle that there has to be something that would have been either the uncaused cause or the independent or the uncontingent thing that would have been the foundation for existence or causality? Would you accept that or not?
Okay, yeah. I mean, I said I understand the infinity principle and the idea that of something being a first cause or the uncaused cause, your creator. But that's all that says, it doesn't say anything about that. All we say is, yes, we have an uncaused cause, we have a first cause, full stop. We don't know anything about, and also,
so that's great. I think
multiple different religions have postulated their God as the uncaused cause.
Sure, I accept that. I accept that. So I think we agree on a lot then. So what we agreed is that there has to be this foundational thing. Now, a lot of atheists also talk about sort of, there's millions of concepts of God, but having many theories about a foundational thing doesn't negate the existence of the foundational thing. It just means that people have different concepts of that.
Another thing Muslim apologists do, and Christian apologists, okay, let's not be tough with these guys. Another logical fallacy you keep doing all the time is that confuse not conclusively disproven equals probable. That's not true, my friend. Not conclusively disproven doesn't equal probable. So yes, having many concepts of God doesn't negate that one of them is true. But it doesn't make it a strong argument either. The fact that we see all around human history people inventing gods right and center, everywhere. Okay, if I give birth to a child, in 5 years he will invent a god. So okay, that doesn't disprove your God, but it's a good evidence that humans invent gods. Okay, so it's not conclusive, but it's still good evidence against God.
The question is actually how are we going to analyze this thing, and that's something that maybe we need to do, and maybe we need to go into. But what you've essentially agreed is there has to be something foundational. Now, the foundational thing if we have to do a conceptual analysis of what this might be, and that might be the way to go forward, I think, because we seem to be in agreement, really, the way I'm seeing it. Our question now is, okay, what are the qualities or the attributes or what properties must this initial foundational thing have for it to be?
Yet.
Yeah, well, there are ways of.
It doesn't necessarily have to still exist. It could have created everything and then ceased to exist after that. We don't know. We don't have any evidence for anything.
Yeah, but this brings me back to something I said. The idea that where are you getting your information from about this cause, and where are we getting our information from, and that's the difference. But we're not going into that in this particular stream. What we're establishing today in this stream is the fact that the idea to believe in the existence of a first cause of everything that exists isn't an unreasonable, irrational, illogical position to take. That's all we're establishing.
And there's one more thing I just want to.
Our arguments are evidence
or irrational. Well, I'm just saying that, even if I follow your arguments, all it does get to is a first cause. It doesn't say anything about that first cause.
Agreed. We're not doing that here.
Yeah, I just want to I say something. Just a response to one comment that you made, because it was actually an example that Al-Ghazali made in one of his books called Al-Ihsaan1c. Basically, you just said that the thing could create and see that, and that's why it's important to distinguish between causation and dependency, because Al-Ghazali actually made distinction between the two by saying, if I create a house and then die and the house continues to live, continues to be thereafter, that's one state of affairs. But another state of affairs is when we talk about dependence, we're talking about something that you cannot exist without the thing existing as well.
Okay, and this is the point Mohammed Hijab confuses. He knows very well the contingency argument, and he thinks that names of the terms inside the contingency argument are then outside of the contingency. How can I explain this? Imagine, guys, in an argument, I name 2 bananas a tomato, a blue tomato, and then I get blue tomato and I imagine blue tomatoes. No. Can you understand what I'm saying now? How can I explain that? It's really confusing. The dependent term inside the contingency argument doesn't mean dependent. It's just a term to describe something inside the contingency argument.
So there has to be, if you like, coexistence.
How do you know that's the case?
So if I say that the house is dependent on, or let's say, for example, in this case, it won't be a house. Let's make an easier example. Let's say, for example, a plant, it's not just caused by photosynthesis, but it depends on it. You get what I'm saying? So it's not just caused, in a sense, by the sun rays, but it depends on it. The moment that the sun rays are out of the equation for the plant, or maybe not exactly the moment, but it will cease to exist. In other words, for its continued existence, the plant requires the sun, not just for its initial existence. So there's a difference here between causation and dependence. That's why it's important to use them together, because one is not really sufficient. I think causation by itself it doesn't solve all the major problems. So it needs to be with dependence as well. And that's why Ghazali, that's a beautiful example of the house.
How do you know it's not
you can
contingent?
create a house and then
how do you know it's contingent? Sorry, how do you know it's not just causation, it's dependence as well? There must be a reason, because I haven't seen any evidence to suggest that it has to be dependence as well as causation.
What has to be?
Well, the way you've said, you've given the example of a creator in a house, then you gave the example of the sun and the plant to distinguish between causation at the beginning and dependence, so that it maintains its necessary existence. But I've not seen any evidence to say why the creator of the universe is a dependent, is causing a dependence, or was just the creator.
So you're saying there's no evidence that he's basically saying, I think, there's no evidence that the creator or cause of the universe is still around maintaining that universe.
Exactly. Okay. There's no evidence about that. In fact, the complete opposite. We have evidence that our universe is self-sufficient.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Is that you know, you can postulate there was a
Yeah,
first
the
cause.
evidence is
All of
from.
this, I can give you all
So
of that.
basically, there's
then
no
you can say
evidence
that
against the
everything.
fact.
Just sorry, please, just let me finish.
So,
Let me finish. I can, you know, I postulate, or you could postulate all of that. That there was this first cause, you know, infinite regress, unmoved mover, first cause, all of this, and then you know it could have just carried on like that. But then, what evidence do you have is that there's something that the first cause that started everything is still interacting with what was created and moved and caused.
so I'm not used the word interacting. So what I'm just saying is that so long as things continue to be dependent, they'll continue to be dependent on things.
My friend, you confuse the contingency argument term dependent means dependent outside the contingency argument. And that is the confusing thing. That is stupidity the people who made the contingency argument did. They put terms that in real life remind something else, that inside the argument means something else. So the contingency argument confuses you, Mohammed Hijab.
Right? And that's just almost
how do you know they
tautological
continue
statement.
to be dependent? That's what I'm trying to get at. How do you know they continue to be dependent?
Yeah. So you can assess that ontologically, and you can assess that cosmologically. So you can assess that literally using your five senses, and you can assess that using your mathematical mind as well. If you want to use your five senses, just look at yourself as a human body, right? I'm sure you realize
I do,
that.
yes, but I can't see anything that suggests there's the you know, the first cause or whatever it was you quoted is still.
No. What I'm saying is, let's take you as an example. Would you agree with me that you rely on something else in order, or you relied and you continue to rely on other things in order to exist?
Yes, I do. I rely on the sun. I rely on oxygen, water, food. Yes, I do.
Yeah, so you're dependent.
I'm dependent on those things I listed. Yes.
Yeah. So there you have it. So in a sense, everything is dependent on everything that you can see in observation is dependent upon something else, right? In order to exist.
There are things that I'm dependent on to continue to exist. Yes, but they, no one's saying that they were the things that they were there that started everything in the beginning.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that not just you, that's one example, but what I'm saying is that in fact, all observable examples are examples of dependent things.
Guys, Mohammed Hijab confuses the term dependent inside the contingency argument with the word dependent outside of the contingency argument. The contingency argument doesn't imply that the universe is contingent in a continuing sense. Like it needs a constant boost. Okay? Doesn't imply that. But I don't blame these guys. This is a 5 hours video. And obviously, okay, they are talking 5 hours. And this is hard stuff. And it's confusing stuff. But the contingency argument doesn't imply that there is a continuation of dependence, or that the universe relies to God to continue. In fact, we have tons of evidence that the universe is self-sufficient. In other words, a deist kind of God is consistent with the contingency argument. A God that made the universe and then left it.
Everything that you can think of empirically, every single thing that you can think of, had to have a state of affairs before it, or even if you don't use the word before, that I'm not even going to use antecedent or precedent.
Okay, there is no point now because Mohammed Hijab is tired and is stuck in a spiral of misunderstanding. Okay, there is no point to. Okay, let's go a little bit forward.
Extra mentally.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but you inserted continued existence. I could just say that whatever it is that we've all agreed on is the cause of the existence, but then you said it's the cause of the continued existence without justifying why the word continued.
Now, I've said
is
that
in
the
there.
justification is this. The justification is it's impossible. Okay, so now I'm
Okay, again, he's stuck in the spiral. He's tired. Okay, 5 hours. He's talking 5 hours. Let's go a little bit forward.
its existence or exists because of.
You still
The
haven't
existence
said
of such
why it
things.
has to
Mohammed,
be,
I think you're
an
crossing each other. I
ongoing
think
problem.
what Ihsaan is saying, he agrees with you that the universe required is dependent upon something to come into existence. What he's saying is, why does that mean? Does it still depend on something to exist?
Bravo, Hamza. Okay, it's more logical. Yes, exactly. That is what Ihsaan said.
Exactly.
What-
So what I'm just trying to say
I
is,
understand what you're saying.
you know,
Well, can I ask you a question at this point, Ihsaan, if you don't mind? Do you believe that the first cause is more powerful than anything we know?
Okay, Hamza, let's make a hypothesis, because your arguments are deductive arguments. What that means? That you imply that it cannot be any other way. So, if you imply that it cannot be any other way, let me give you a hypothesis. Let's say a quantum environment gives birth every second universes, every second, 1,000 universes. Those universes haven't got the physics to sustain themselves, and they get out of existence every second. Millions universes. Some universes eventually will have some parameters that can sustain themselves. And then, with some kind of cosmic natural selection, it can be with black holes, like Smolin's example, eventually will result to a universe that can sustain itself, will have the laws of nature to eventually bring about Earth and humans, eventually, with evolution. By the way, this idea I thought 7 years before Smolin. One day when I was with my mother, I said, "Mom, I had a great idea." She told me, "What is, my child?" Now that's a real story. Why not be something like a cosmic natural selection with black holes? Yes, I said that 7 years before Smolin. Yes, I was wrong once again. Okay, of course that is not proven, but it's a good theory. So how what you said makes sense in this hypothesis? You said, this first cause has eternal power. What this first cause? You mean the million causes every second have eternal power? It makes no sense, my friend. What do you mean by power? Energy? The bending of time, space? What do you mean by power, first of all? Okay, can you understand that what you say makes no sense in certain hypotheses? Even if what I say is not true, again, it's a possibility. Again, your deductive argument fails.
I don't know anything about the first cause at the moment, and I wouldn't say it has to be more powerful than anything we know.
Okay, I'll rephrase
it could have
myself.
been something that ceased. It could have been
All right,
something that ceased to exist.
Let me rephrase my question, because you just jumped my question. I don't know why. It was a very simple question. Do you believe there's anything as powerful, anything that we know of powerful enough to create a universe?
You say terms that imply to a person. Powerful. What that means? What that means? You mean the inevitable quantum qualities? What do you mean by powerful? You understand the logical error you are doing, Hamza? You put your conclusion inside your question. Anyway, this video takes too long. I kept it long because I wanted to hear my dear friend, Ihsaan. Ihsaan won this debate easy, okay. At the very least, your deductive arguments are not that simple. Like, oh, it's obvious, yes. It's like, say, 1 + 1 = 2, God exists. That's bullshit, my friend. You don't have game. At the very least, be more humble and do science. Okay, thank you very much. This was Socrates' Son.